Hello all my beautiful sisters from those other misters. Today I am doing a review of the Urban Decay Naked Ultimate Basics palette. I've had this for a while. I picked it up late last year when it came out, and I kind of been putting off this review because to me this palette isn't really inspiring. I've been using it a lot because they're mattes and I use mattes every time I put eye makeup on. But I also like to use shimmers, so it's the sort of palette for me where I've been like, let me pair it with something else. I think I will start by talking about value. So I have my notes here. Let me just grab these guys as well because I'm going to use them for reference. So this palette retails for 90 Australian dollars at Mecca Maxima stores or online at mecca.com.au. It contains 12 pans. Each pan is 1.2 grams each. That works out to a total of 14.4 grams, and each gram of product works out to be $6.25. Now, these palettes, on the other hand, the sort of traditional naked palettes from Urban Decay, they sell for $83 on the Mecca Maxima website. They contain 12 pans as well, but there is 1.3 grams of product in each pan for a total of 15.6 grams. So there's more product and they're cheaper. Now each gram of product works out to be $5.32 in these traditional naked palettes. I do love my naked palettes. I think the thing that really shits me off about the value of this, and it's not, I'm going to assume it's not to do with Urban Decay. I'm going to assume that this was Mecca's decision because Mecca does have the monopoly over this brand in Australia. And you know, they get to price things how they want to price them. On the Urban Decay website, all of these palettes, every single one, is $54, and while this one still does contain less product than these ones, the price tag is the same. So we're paying $7 more for this palette in Australia than these palettes. So that annoys me. I feel like Mecca have sort of taken the opportunity to go, well, we're the only ones with this palette, so we can do whatever the fuck we want. We can bump up the price because it's new, and I don't like that. I don't like it. Let's talk about packaging on this dude. So I just want to compare it to some other palettes in the range. This is the Naked 3, which is the traditional packaging of the naked palettes. You can see they're not the same shape. That annoys me. I am one of those people who, I suppose I collect palettes. If I am interested in a palette and I buy it, even if I don't like it, I don't return it. I keep it, and that's how I end up with a whole range of palettes. I will say, when it comes to the Urban Decay naked palettes pre this dude, sorry guys, I didn't mean to blind you, there's only one in this set that I ended up not liking. That was the Naked 2 palette. But that's just because I don't wear as many cool eyeshadows as I do warm. But I was never going to get rid of it. It just slipped right into my collection there, and it looks beautiful in its drawer with all of its brothers and sisters. So I'm not really a fan of this packaging because this palette, the shape of it doesn't allow me to store it with my other naked palettes, which upsets me. It really does. The packaging of this guy is plastic. It has, I don't know if I can show you without blinding you, but it's kind of like these starburst lines, I suppose. I don't know. It's probably a technical term for it. I don't know what it is. It does have magnetic closure. It's not particularly strong. There is a big mirror in there, and there's also a shitty brush somewhere. Let me see if I can find what I did with the shitty brush. Okay, so here's a shitty brush. If you've been watching me for a while, you probably know I do not like double-ended brushes. Typically do not like brushes that come in palettes, full stop. This one is short and stubby. Can I compare it to a... Alright, this is a Laura Mercier brush. They're not even full-size brushes. So you can see it's quite short and stout. One end is confused. I don't know if it wants to be like a shading brush or a blending brush because it's like synthetic and densely packed, but then the tips of it are like quite loose. I've not used it because I'm concerned that if I use it to try and shade with some of these, which can be a little bit powdery, I'm going to get fallout. So I'm not confident with the brush, I don't trust it, and I'm not the type of person to start doing my makeup and then take it all off again and start again. The other end is like a shader, I suppose, like a smudging brush. Again, I haven't used it. I don't like double-ended brushes. They frustrate me. And also, I will say, this one, being so small, it's kind of like, I like to give my brush a little bit of length. So typically where the ferrule starts is where I like to, you know, have my hand, which means the brush is sort of like, it's not long enough. It annoys me. I do wish that they had just, you know, just carried on. Carry on with that traditional shape. Formula. So you've got 11 mattes and 1 satin. The satin is down here. It's below. It's a very pale cream colour. Good pigmentation. It's, you know, it's an alright shade. The rest are mattes. They have fairly good pigmentation. I feel like when you swatch them with a finger, they leave a little bit to be desired, but when you use a brush, they come to life and they apply quite nicely. So I'll only be swatching with a brush today because there's no point in seeing shitty finger swatches and you're not going to apply matte shades with a finger anyway. So brush swatches it is. I think there are 2 shades in this palette that really let the team down. One is Nudie. This is kind of like a me skin tone colour, I suppose. It's not pigmented. It can definitely be built up to bring out pigmentation, but when you do that, it goes from like a nude skin colour to this kind of weird, slightly orangey skin colour. I don't know. I don't really like it. It's kind of strange. Then we've got Pre-Game up here, which is this yellow shade. Again, not very pigmented. Would potentially make a good highlighting shade, but when you like build it up to actually have some sort of pigmentation, it starts to look kind of chalky and weird. So I don't get it. The formula's not great. The rest of them are pretty good. They're not super duper amazing pigmented, but they are quite pigmented, and really, if you ask me, I prefer a matte that is not super intensely pigmented, because if you put it on your eye and you put on too much, you're fucked. Like, you kind of need a little bit of wiggle room when it comes to matte shades. And this palette allows that, so I do like it. I think Lethal down here it's a dark plum shade. I do think that can go on a little bit patchy, and I will say that's pretty normal for a dark purple shade, so don't be like, ugh, that's shit. It's pretty normal. You can build it up, you can work with it, you know, I'm giving you guys all of the information. Another thing I've noticed with some of these shades is, especially below down here, if you blend over it too much, it disappears. It's like, where did that color intensity go? They don't disappear, but they're not as vibrant as they once were. So that's kind of a downside with this palette. I wouldn't blend too much if you're going to use it. Alright, first let's do brush swatches with this palette and then move on to the eye look that I'm wearing today. So I started with Instinct on my inner corner and taking a little bit into my crease. I then put it into the outer part of my crease and the outer corner of my eye. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with this look, so I just kind of kept blending and applying until something, you know, came to mind. Next I took Blow and I applied that all over the center of my lid, and I just went to work sort of blending Blow and Instinct into each other, and I felt like as I was blending the two shades to sort of have those edges meet nicely and have a pretty little gradient, Blow just seemed to lose its luster. So I kept sort of applying and blending until I figured I could probably be here all day if I don't just give up and move on. I finished off the upper part of my eye work with Magnet, just taking that a tiny bit onto the outer corner and into the crease. I then took Blow on the inner corner and I applied Magnet on the lower lash line. I finished with liner, lashes, mascara and bottom lash mascara, and that created the look that I'm wearing today. I'm going to wrap up this review by saying I think that this is a great add-on palette. If you haven't sort of worked that out by now, I'd better just finish off by saying that on its own it's not amazing, of course, unless you like mattes, but when you pair this with any of the other Naked palettes, or I've paired it with some other palettes in my stash, and that's when I feel like things really start to come together and it all makes sense and it's not as fucking boring and bland as this thing is. So that's what I've got to say about the Naked Ultimate Basics palette. I don't think I will be buying another all matte palette for quite a while, especially not a neutral one, because I have enough. That's enough. This one ticked the enough box for me. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and I will see you in the next one. Bye.